Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning bilingual sexuality podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm thrilled to announce that Please Me is the #1 ranked sexuality podcast in the USA and worldwide. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sex education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Today marks the launch of Season 7, and I'm thrilled to welcome Emma Galland, a respected sex educator and Tantra coach. Emma supports men in understanding their sexuality and mastering sexual vitality, teaching that sexual energy is life force, the foundation of vitality, creativity, confidence, and healing. Enjoy this powerful, insightful conversation now. This season returns to its original format with weekly podcast episodes, plus the continuation of the fan favorite role play segment at the end of every episode. Always fun, always spicy, and not to be missed. Early access drops every Monday on Patreon, with public releases every Wednesday on all major podcast platforms, so set your alarms. Want to ask a question for the Please Me podcast? Join the conversation on Patreon or subscribe to my Substack newsletter for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes updates, and a chance to have your questions featured on the show. Please Me is for mature audiences, so sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
Right? So when you cultivate your sexuality, you'll start iridescing, having iridescent bubble around you that will become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can start manifesting whatever it is you want, but it comes from pussy. And when I'm not connecting with her, I can't work even. I just can't show up properly. Like, I need to have a daily practice, and if I skip it, or if I skip for a week or whatever.
Hello.
5 a.m., I'm up with a crisp Celsius energy drink. Running 12 miles today. Grab a green juice, quick change, and head to work. Meetings, workshops. One more Celsius, no slowing down. Working late, but obviously still meeting the girls for a little dancing. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
Ugh, you said you were over him, but his hoodie is still in your rotation. It's time. Grab your phone, snap a few pics, and sell it on Depop. Listed in minutes, with no selling fees. And just like that, a guy 500 miles away just paid full price for your closure. And right on cue.
Hey, still got my hoodie?
Nope, but I've got tonight's dinner paid for. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste. List now with no selling fees. Payment processing fees and boosting fees still apply. See website for details.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
And welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I'm so excited to welcome you to Season 7 and to welcome on Emma Galland. She did not become a sex coach because she was always empowered around sex. She became one because she had a life-changing, healing sexual experience. And I'm so excited to hear about this. So I want to welcome you, Emma, to the show. How are you today, Emma?
Eve, thank you so much for having me. I'm great. So excited to be here with you and getting to know you more.
Me too. I'm so excited to hear your story. I want to know all about that life-changing experience that you had, because I feel like I can really relate to your story, and I can't wait to hear you talk about it. So tell me how you came to be in this sexual health space, teaching Tantra and other sexual health tools.
Yes. So I've been a student of Tantra for about 20 years, but more as a way to learn about my body, and because I was raised Catholic and, didn't really masturbate until my late 30s because I had a lot of shame and stigma around this. And I was a serial monogamist because I really wanted to explore. But, the only way to do that if you don't touch yourself is to have a lot of different men. So throughout my teenage years and young adulthood, I just had that really big interest, and then took some teachers and then just learned online and read books and so on. But it wasn't until I personally had an incredible sexual experience that I discovered that I really needed to get into the field and help men be able to know how much power they have in the bedroom, and how sexuality, and if they take ownership of their own sexuality, and then uh, become the initiator and the penetrator, so to speak, in their relationship, they can transform their partner and they can transform their entire life. And so that's when I moved. I was a coach in other areas, nutrition for sexual health, yoga, Tantra yoga, things like that. But getting formally now educated to teach was that life-changing experience that I had.
Yes. And you mentioned that you had been in a previous relationship, right, where you weren't able to express yourself and express your desires. And I can relate to that because I was in a sexless marriage for many years. And it wasn't until I got divorced and really started my own sexual exploration post divorce that I came to this work as well.
Yeah, so it's really interesting you mentioned that, exactly. So I really went from different relationship after different relationship until I got married, and I was very sexual from a very young age, and none of the boyfriends that I had were as sexual as I was, and I felt there was something wrong with me for having so much sexual vitality. And then I married someone who was an incredible lover and just my soulmate. But he didn't have the same sex drive as I had. He's asexual. I actually discovered what asexual means. While I'm hypersexual, and I wanted to have an open relationship. I wanted to go to sex club. I wanted to do all those things, right? And he wanted monogamy, and then I need sex every single day, and that would be more like 6 times a year in our relationship. So towards the end, but an incredible lover, but I needed more. And so I left the marriage because the sex life wasn't what I wanted, even though everything else was wonderful. But it come a time where, and that's what Tantra had taught me, is our sexuality is the core of who we are. It's the core of our life force. I'm an entrepreneur, and it powers me every day to wake up and brave the world. And so it's after living and going through this incredible heartbreak and transformation in my relationship, because we left because we were different, not because we didn't love each other. And the work was actually, how do we save the love but change the container of the relationship? So marriage wasn't the right container. How do we create something, my ex and I, where the love continues to grow and our soulmate journey continues, but we're no longer together? So we find that. But in that heartbreak, is when I had that next experience that really helped me crack even more open, heal, experience every single orgasm a woman can have in just, it was like, there's so many layers that I came on the other side of it, being a totally different human being. And that's what sparked me creating Tantric Awakenings and really register the company officially and just start a new business entirely.
That's amazing. So after you kind of broke with your husband and you met a lover that you said created space for you to sort of heal and to be open with your emotions, etc., that's when you really were able to plug in to, all of the pleasure that you had been wanting and desiring, right?
Well, so it's interesting because he didn't do this consciously, and I think that's the magic of a man who's
Yes.
really himself. It was really just a one night stand. A man I
Okay.
found extremely attractive,
Gotcha.
and there was these sparks, right? That was it. And this was a one night stand, but a man who met me in my depth. So as we're making love, of course, when you make love deeply, everything comes up. You can't feel pleasure and not pain if you're in a state of pain. Like if you start numbing because you want to cry all the time because you're heartbroken, and you numb that crying, then you'll numb your pleasure. And I was so attracted to him that the pleasure was so intense, and so was the heartbreak. And they were able to live in the same time, in the same moment. So the deeper and deeper the lovemaking went, it was interesting because it was a one night stand with a powerful fucking energy, but it was a lovemaking energy at the same time. He never left my eyes. It's really rare when you make love with someone just who's not somebody that you're intimate with normally, that you're able to have eye contact, deep eye contact, soul level contact for hours and hours without ever breaking. He would not break eye contact. And so I would cry and I would laugh and I would orgasm and I would cry. And he would ask me every so often, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine, keep going." And so we went through all those different, and he would, he really stuffed his penis into my mouth in a way that made me ejaculate without having even touched my vagina. So he really like pushed me, like he went even deeper, like really like stifling me or like fucking me in every single way you can, and really pushing my boundary while I felt safe and seen. And that was the thing, is I felt seen. And what I saw in his eyes is that he had gone through this too. I didn't know his story, but I could tell this man had met the depth of emotional heartbreaks or just big things in his life. And that's why he could hold me, because he knew. And so being able to basically have a mountain take you, and you can be the weather storm that just I keep crashing onto him with all those emotion and those orgasm and the wetness and the cry. And he was still, like he was so calm, so steady and relentless. You understand? And so the more he stayed with me and the longer he stayed with me, the more I unraveled and the deeper the orgasm. So I had squirting without any genital, basically finding the throat chakra right here and stimulating it. I had a G-spot orgasm, A-spot orgasm, multiple cervical orgasm, breastgasm, full body orgasm, crygasm, angergasm. Like just, it was a state where you don't even feel like you're floating. You lose track of time. You lose a sense of separation between his body, my body. And also in the most intense moment is when he was the most still. So that was also something that was fascinating. A man who can stay inside you without moving and just be there and let himself go deeper into you as you just break open. So I discovered the power of non-friction sex, but just presence through sex with him as well. So it was like just a one night thing, and I left, the next morning, and that was it. And it would transform me, and I know it transformed him too, because we stayed in touch. And next day I said, okay. I felt so good the next day, and I felt he had washed away the shame of sex that I had carried all the years, because I was so sexual, so uninhibited with him, and so primal, and so emotional, and so soulful. And he loved it, and he loved me exactly as I was. And I felt it's someone who also felt sexual shame, because he's very sexual. You don't have a man who stands up like this unless he's gone through also his own work without really having done the work, which is somebody that was just very attuned. And so that's what I wanted to say is I felt on the other side of that, it's okay to be me and to be hypersexual as I am. It's okay to have emotional breakdown. It's okay to be exactly as I am. And there is a man out there who actually isn't afraid, who doesn't tell me I'm too much, I'm too this, I'm too that, or he actually had the capacity, and that's a key word in tantric sex, he had the capacity to hold me like his capacity for holding the woman storm is like limitless, I felt like. And that's this. And I realized we didn't talk, but in that thing, I just came on the other side feeling so good being myself, and said, men have this power of rewriting the story women have told themselves about sex. They have the power to heal. The cock heals. They have the power to de-armor a penis. There's a penis de-armoring practice in Tantra. So he de-armored me. The sex healed me. I felt self-love, and I got such an open vision of what I could create in the world for men around sexuality.
Wow.
So other women need to feel this, as you know,
Yes.
Eve, right? Other women need
Yes.
to feel this.
What an amazing experience. And I can relate to that. Because when you
Tell me
carry
more.
shame around sex, it's going to inhibit you from really truly enjoying. And when you're able to release that shame, and I'm always talking about throwing the shame out the window and just throwing away all of those societal norms and the religious norms and the family norms and all of the things, all of the pressures that put shame around sexuality, and throwing all of that away and really just being in touch with your sexuality, how empowering and healing it can be. And you mentioned emotion and how much emotion you were able to feel during that moment. And, when you have emotional issues in a relationship or in life in general, and you're not able to express that in your life because you are not a good communicator or for whatever reason that may be, the emotion can get stuck in our bodies and can cause disease.
Yes.
So releasing emotion, being able to express emotion when it comes up is so amazing and so important to have a healthy life. And sex can absolutely be a time to express that emotion, that pain, that sadness. And you talked about a bunch of different types of orgasms. And one of the ones that I wanted, you talked about full body orgasms just now, but on your profile, you talked about crygasms, which I want to talk about because I feel like that's something that actually happens to a lot of women, is that, because of like how connected you are with your partner, it triggers emotions in you that were welling up inside that you didn't know were there. And then suddenly, when you have an orgasm, you also have like this huge crying episode, and it can really be off-putting for some men. They're like, holy crap, what just happened? This is crazy, like maybe something that is not wanted, but it actually is a beautiful experience and a beautiful thing if the man can hold space for you to completely release that emotion. Do you want to just jump in and talk about crygasms? Because I think that they're super powerful and something that people should not be afraid of.
Yes, you're right. Men and women shouldn't be afraid of it. I think women are more afraid than men about it, is my personal experience. Because when a man understands what's going on, meaning the cry is not because he hurt her, but rather
Right.
because she opened up thanks to him. That's a whole different ego boosting game here for a man, right? It's like,
That's
wow,
true.
she
That's
felt
true.
that safe, that she can do that with me. So it's more a woman feeling self-conscious maybe, or not wanting that, or not understanding what that is. But so we can have crygasm, joygasm, laughgasm, angergasm. What this is, as you exactly said, Eve, as you go through the opening of the body through orgasm, you're opening a several layer physically, but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually, if you're going for tantric sex with a spiritual awakening. But what's happening is that an orgasm is sensation based and emotions are sensation based. So all of this is your limbic system. It's your nervous system, but like the emotion and the primal brain. So also your fight, flight, freeze response. So this is the non-speech brain. It's the emotion based and the reptilian brain. And so when you allow yourself to let go and surrender into orgasm, all sensations will come out. So your orgasm can have a sensation of laughter. It can have a sensation of heat, cold, contraction, expansion. It can have like a bubbling into the stomach. It can have like tears in the eyes. It can have a choking throat, and suddenly your throat opens up and you're screaming. So when you think about anger and when you think about grief, there's the story we tell to ourselves, which is your left brain, but there's the sensation. What's the sensation like when you have grief? maybe pressure in the chest, maybe you feel your throat is choking, maybe your eyes are crying, maybe you're feeling a hollow belly. But anger will have a very different thing, right? Anger could have like this huge like heat or contraction. So when we say a crygasm, is that you have an orgasm, which is pleasure, expansion of pleasure, and mind shift. That's the tantric definition for orgasm. And in that pleasure and expansion of pleasure, you have sensations that are also that of grief releasing. So it's a griefgasm, a crygasm. If you're suddenly just feeling like your bubble of laughter and you're laughing hysterically, then you're gonna feel that. So when you truly are embodied and you let your body express itself in sex, meaning you're not in your head, you're in your body, and you let your body move and speak and sound and do whatever it does, that's when you start seeing this blend between pleasure, orgasm, and an emotion that comes up, right? So that's what this is. So that's an emotional release of any kind. But you can also have location-specific orgasm. So you can have a nipple orgasm. So through just massaging your nipples, you could have that orgasm. And then through that poof, you may have actually a griefgasm because the breasts are very connected to the heart. So whatever is in the heart will come out. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to just say after, that explanation that like if you do end up crying after during the experience, that's okay. It's okay
Yes.
to release those emotions. And that is one of the things that sex is really amazing for, is to really plug into the emotions that you may have stored in your body that need to be released. So it's okay to do that. And it's okay to, in your aftercare, discuss the reason why you cried, or maybe maybe it was just a release of energy and there was no
You don't
specific
know it.
reason, but it's okay to have these experiences. And so I just want to put that out there to my listeners, because I know that has happened to me in the past before my sort of sexual revolution. And I was always sort of like mortified by it. Like, oh my God, like I just have all of this pleasure that just happened and now I'm crying. It's got to look like I'm crazy. And and I was always sort of mortified, like, oh my God, why am I crying right now? Like, this is the wrong time and place for this, right? But it's not. It is actually the right time and place.
Add something to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
I think something that is helpful when you just begin to venture into a more sensational sex, so more sensation based, is to speak out loud what you feel. So for instance, you could say, as you're feeling maybe indeed like sometimes fear is something I feel sometimes in sex before surrender. So I could tell my partner, I'm feeling afraid right now, like I'm a bit scared. And all I need to hear from him is, I got you. You're safe to let go. And then right away I can let go. But what I felt was that tightening of my whole body, not wanting to open up, and like that chest tightening. And so I explained, I'm feeling this. Or if you're going to cry, so I'm feeling really like, I feel like I'm going to cry. You can say that, so that it's a way for you to hear yourself, acknowledge your experience, and drop deeper into your body and what you feel. But it's also a way for you to notify your partner where you're at. And then a leading man will know what to say. They'll be here. They'll acknowledge back to you. It's okay. I'll be here for you. I'll hold you. Right. And sometimes you can have a partner that's asking, do you want to continue, or what do you want me to do? Right. And that gives you the opportunity. So talking is really great. Talk about what you feel, not the story of why. Often if you are in the why, you're in your head, you're out of the sexual realm.
Moment.
You're going to disconnect with pleasure. But you can say, I feel this, I feel that. And I feel also giving permission to a man. When you as women, your realm is emotional fluency in a way. But by you leading the way and opening up in your emotion, you may also invite him to try to do that as well. What do you feel?
I love that.
So
And, communication is so much of what we talk about on this show, because without communication, you're not going to have the mind-blowing sex that we all deserve, right? And so communication is absolutely so important. So I love the tip of saying, in the moment, how you're feeling and expressing that with your partner and allowing them to have a heads up and to create space for you. So that's beautiful. And you talked a little bit about coming home to yourself after having had that experience with your one night stand, right? Like you finally realized who you were supposed to be internally. I would love for you to expand on that. How do you feel that getting in touch with your sexuality and with your creative space, your creative chakra, right? Your sacral space. How did that allow you to feel like you came home to yourself?
The first thing is, it's actually a detail, but it mattered a lot for me. That's when I knew this was something different. When I was a child, I was really good at drawing and painting, and I did a Beaux-Arts school, and I was always top of my class. I sold some of my paintings. I was commissioned for painting. I'm talking my teens, right? And then and throughout my time in Europe, I was born in France. I studied in Sweden. I lived in Switzerland, Germany, different places. I kept painting. And when I moved to the US in 2003, all art disappeared. The lifestyle and the pace in New York City is such that it crushed me. I couldn't paint anymore, had no desire to draw. No, this was my life. I loved it so much. I just couldn't. It was a hobby. It wasn't my primary thing, but I had no more creativity until the morning after that night. The morning after that night, I felt like he was my muse. I was mused, so to speak. And I went back into painting. And I had painted erotica a lot when I was younger, which was my parents were worried about this. They thought it was something going on with the teacher, they were like 14, 15, 16. I
All
remember
these
I bought,
nudes.
I know, I had bought on the cover the Playboy magazine, which was Pamela Anderson's special. And I drew all of Pamela Anderson's nudes at the time, it was a long, long time ago. But after that night, I started to paint again, and like every day, and big things. And this is when I knew the juices were back, right? I loved, and I would get lost in painting. And when I painted, this was my most authentic way of self-expressing me, right? So it started there. And through the meditative act of painting, coloring, all of those things, then came more and more visions about what I'm supposed to do here, such as the tantric awakenings, etc. And I have had so many other things after that. And I started to create more outside. So my sex became more creative, more sensational. Then I went into painting. That's still within my cocoon. But I'm like, okay, now I can extend further into making a new business. So and then why don't I create a movement after that? Right. So when you cultivate your sexuality, you'll start iridescing, having iridescent bubble around you that will become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can start manifesting whatever it is you want, but it comes from pussy. And when I'm not connecting with her, I can't work. Even I just can't show up properly. Like I need to have a daily practice, and if I skip it, or if I skip for a week or whatever, it's just nothing flows. I'm
It
in my
really
head
is.
more.
Yeah, it really is your creative center, right? So if
Yes.
you are stimulating that creative center on a daily basis, like you said, you have a daily practice. And when I have clients come to me, especially men who have erectile dysfunction, etc., I do give them homework. And one of those things is to masturbate on a daily basis. So I love that
Yes.
you have a daily practice that helps you to connect to your creative power. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is such a beautiful thing. And I think it's something that people should really think about, because if you are inhibiting that part of yourself, you're also inhibiting your creativity. Um, so I have another question for you about men cultivating their sexuality with intention in order to
Mm.
hold space for themselves and their partners. How can you teach that to men? Tell me how you do that in your practice.
So it starts with cultivating your own presence. I always say how you are in bed is how you are in life, and vice versa. So all this magic we're talking about, Eva and I, happen in the body. The mind is great at planning, calculating. It's not really great at um, it's not really great at telling you what to do in a moment. What to do in a moment, how to be in a moment, comes from presence and feeling one with what's happening. So what I teach men is first to come home to presence. It's the first thing, and practice this with masturbation. I've invented something this summer called the sound self-discovery meditation. It's basically 60 minutes of masturbation daily to a meditative track that tells you how to touch yourself and with which intention. And if you're able, without having fantasy, porn, or anything like that, you basically turn the intention inwards and you self-cultivate and you practice. Can you be present in your body, in your sensation, developing your pleasure, moving your pleasure around? Just there's a lot of different types of tracks. Can you do that for 60 minutes? So it's that practice of this. And then you can take this outside of the bedroom. What does it mean to be present on a day-to-day with the people around you, at work, in meetings, etc.? So you start cultivating presence. And when you cultivate presence, you have to trust that you don't need a plan for the future for everything. Most men are planning and then having plan B, plan C, plan D, and then always thinking about the future. Even in the present moment, already thinking about, okay, next steps, right? The practice of presence is having a goal, like knowing where you're heading, but then focusing on how you interact with the present moment without having to worry about plan step 2, step 3, step 4. You get that step 2 when you get to step 2, step 3 when you get to step 3. So I have a client, for instance, who it was giving me, this changed his life completely. The example he was telling me is, we're Monday and my boss tells me we have a meeting on Friday, and it doesn't sound good the way he says it. And in the past, I would have prepared all week for that meeting, right, with all the different type of thing we might be talking about and this and this and that. Here he said, I decided to be present. I'm getting the news. I'm noticing I'm nervous. Am I losing my job, keeping my job? What's going to happen? But it's on Friday. And on Friday, I will be there. But I'm not going to think about the meeting for a week, right? It's on the calendar. It will happen. But now what do I need to do now? And he managed his anxiety, because he's prone to anxiety, went way down. And then he just managed the week pretty well. And he got to Friday and the meeting went really well because he went into the meeting embodied, present, truly listening to what the boss had to say. And in a moment, he knew what to say and what to do. And so a man's greatest asset is his presence, because a man who's present will always have the right action, the right response to the moment. And the right response to the moment is when you're really deeply present. So you can feel all of the moment. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
And so sex is a fun way to practice this, because it's useful. You're going to last longer in bed, etc. But you can take that practice out in the world as well.
Yes,
Does
I
that
love to
answer a question?
Yes, it does. And presence is so important during sexuality, sexual health, and sex in general. Because if you are not present in your body in that moment, if you're thinking about the to-do list that you have to do, you're not going to be feeling the sensations in your body. So really cultivating that practice of being present is such a great skill to have in the bedroom that does translate to all areas of your life. So I like to talk about big clit energy and like the energy that you have in your the confidence that you have in your sexuality that translates to all areas of your life. But absolutely, if you have a practice of being present in your body, that too will translate to all areas of your life. So great
Can
tips.
I give an example?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's how you understand presence really simply. So we've been talking for 30 minutes, right? You've been listening and listening to us. Did you notice during that time your feet?
Did you what? Say that again.
Did you notice your feet?
Did I do what with my feet? I'm sorry.
Not notice. Did you notice your feet
Oh, did I notice my feet?
during the 30 minutes that
I
we're
mean, I
talking?
haven't been paying attention to my feet. I'm sitting
That's
cross-legged.
exactly. That's the point. So
Yeah.
that's the point, everyone. The point is you're not present to your feet because you're present elsewhere. Like just you're not
Right.
there. But if I'm telling you, bring your awareness to your feet, suddenly you feel your feet. Bring your
Right.
awareness to your sit bones on your chair, suddenly you feel it. That's what presence is, right? It's when you intentionally bring it to where you want to bring it. And it's in that moment that, for instance, you realize, oh, I'm cross-legged, not great for my spine. Most likely my spine is having this scoliosis movement because I'm crooked. If I ground my feet and I adjust my posture, wow, I can breathe better. I feel more alert, right? But you didn't notice all this because you were in your head listening intellectually to something, right? So that's how I kind of explain presence. And so if you want to be a better lover, you have to cultivate your sexuality, focus on the presence of the sensations of sex.
Absolutely.
That's it. It's training.
And being in the moment is so essential. Why do you say that sexuality is the portal for self-realization in every aspect of our lives?
Mm. Big words I said, right? Because all of the conditioning that we have, all of the, as you were saying at the introduction today, like the family conditioning, the societal conditioning, your beliefs, your shame, your guilt, your fears, all of this shows up in sex. And so it's in sex and how you are in sex that you will see, and that's again, I mean, tantric sex. So it's sex is a way for you to shed the light on yourself, to see how you think and feel. If you think some things are okay in sex and some are not okay, or this makes you feel uncomfortable, this makes you feel like this, or you have like those, this is just a reflection of your conditioned mind. And so tantric sexuality and sex in general, the objective is freedom, liberation, your liberation as a human being. And so when you allow yourself to truly enjoy your body without shame, without guilt, without fear, all types of sex is okay, you know. And for men, I've said, yes, men, there's some kind of sex that are okay. Others, like people would think you're like this, like there's just, what if you could enjoy all types of sex in every single holes in your body and in every single, like, you know, form and every single outfit that you could wear, you know. We say like boy wears blue, girls wear pink. I'm like, who says, you
Right.
know? You know, so all of those things, if you could really truly embody and playfully have sex without any of this, you would truly be free. And to be free, there, because you would have to shade certain conditioning. Let's say you're a man who would really love to experience anal sex and pegging, but you're too afraid to ask to your partner because you're afraid she would think you're gay, right? As if it was a bad thing. But like that, if that's your conditioning, right? You can see right away that you're walking a line that takes you also outside in the world of how you look at other men or how you look at the role of women. There's just this whole conditioning is showing. What if suddenly you said, you know what, I would like to explore that, and you'll start on your own and you'll discover how incredibly pleasurable, and it's wired for pleasure, your anus is, and your rectum, and you decide to actually explain why you want this desire, which is really just having more pleasure. And you start to rewire your brain and you will expand the way you are in society naturally within your nervous system. You don't have to change behavior, but in your nervous system, you're going to start relaxing some norms that you had, which were imposed on you. And we can talk about the biology evolution of relationship. You've read Sex I've Done, I'm sure. And how we were not at all what we are today. We're not monogamous. We were not, you know, it was a lot more fluid sexuality.
Exactly.
So if you allow your sex to be fluid, to be free, you become free. It will change completely your mindset, your nervous system, and the way you show up in life. And when you have fear or shame or guilt, you are limited. Somebody has power over you. But what if, and that's something I do also in my client, I make them embrace their greatest fear in their somatic system. Like I was saying, some men are afraid that they would be, considered losers or poor. Like you're poor, you're a failure. And I make them actually freaking get off on being a failure. It's so good. It feels so good. It's so orgasmic to be a failure. It totally changed everything because you're no longer afraid of that biggest fear. You could be a failure and you'd be fine. And so that's where sex is powerful, because it will show you all your conditioning that you can then shed consciously, intentionally through sex. Change your nervous system, which your nervous system, you have one. So if you change it in the bedroom, it's going to change the way you look at the world when you're outside the bedroom.
I love all of this. And this is exactly what I want for all of my listeners, to have that freedom and get on that path to sexual liberation, which I talk frequently about. And you mentioned Tantra, which I think is a tool that can help you to get there, right? And so, and, I talk a lot about kink too. And you mentioned, feeling degradation and feeling like a failure, right? And how that can be empowering too for people that crave that humiliation, to help them to get to that point, right? And so I would love for you to explain how you use Tantra as a tool to help men and women to get on that path to sexual liberation, and what the difference between tantric sex and just regular everyday sex is.
Yeah. So let's always do a second question, the difference. That way people understand better how it helps. There's a lot of differences, but I would say the first one is that tantric sex, conventional sex, you have sex because you're horny and you need that release, right? Like, oh, I'm turned on, let's have sex. Tantric sex is not based on being turned on or not. It's a practice that you do on however often you want. Generally better to do it daily, but if daily at 9 a.m. you have sex, it's daily at 9 a.m. you have sex, whether you're turned on or not. You'll need to, of course, go through the process of arousing yourself, but it's not an external urge that you quench. It's more a self-cultivation, self-connecting practice that you do using pleasure. So that's two different things. Also, therefore, conventional sex is based on excitement. The other one is excitation. And the difference with this is, if you're too excited, or you're waiting to be really excited to have sex, most likely your will last like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Tantric sex, the quickie is an hour, and 3 hours is best, right? Because you get really to get depth thing. And we can talk about how that works in a daily life. I mean, just look at how long you watch Netflix every day and just replace that with sex. Last time we found. But so it's
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
I'm all for that, yeah. But because you're starting at a lukewarm level of turn on, you're able to just really build the wave and be with it, and you have more sensitivity in your body, you have more control over your body. Tantric sex has an intention. You set an intention before you have sex. The other one is like, I'm horny, oh, you're sexy, let's go have sex. The other one is, today in this sex, I want to feel connected with you. I want to heal. I want to make love as the ocean, whatever. So you have an intention that will direct the way the sexual energy will go. So it's always intentional. And then we use the five senses and we bring them on. So you're going to tune into your touch and your taste and your sense of smell, and then the hearing, and you're really consciously awakening and putting them online before you start the sex. So you could very much have certain sense that you're smelling, or certain way to you sound, or things like that, but you want to be extremely sensational. Tantric sex is not friction based. So conventional sex is generally penetration and in and out, or up and down, or whatever you want. Tantric sex is led by the penis and the vagina, not by the mind. So it's however the penis and vagina wants to move. And sometimes you have to not move to feel the natural impulse to move. So you express your natural impulse in your body to move, not what you think the script of sex is like. And in order to feel the impulse, you need to be sensitive. Most penises and vaginas are desensitized by mechanical masturbation or porn masturbation, which direct your attention outwards. You can't really feel yourself very much. You have to really get super, super hard. You have to get super excited in your brain to feel something. Instead, you learn how to de-armor, resensitize your genitals so that they can feel the very subtle movement. It's slow meditative sex. And what's fascinating also is it honors all levels of erection. So you can have sex on a soft penis, semi-hard or hard. And it's long lasting and you use the breath. There's lots of self-awareness. So it's a very embodied, hypersensitive way of connecting that follows an intention. And your intention is always realized because at the end of sex doesn't end with ejaculation. It ends when you decide it's over. And you have the choice to either have a non-ejaculatory orgasm or an ejaculatory orgasm. But it's basically you moving to your intention. And then after a while, you say, okay, it's time to go to work, it's time to go to bed, it's time to feed the kids, whatever that is. And that's when you end it. And you may end it with an ejaculation. That's a great way to end it. But it could be, it's not the important thing. So it's not a goal-oriented sex. Conventional is goal-oriented. Tantric sex is intention-led, embodied, meditative sex. And so how does it change, to go back to your first question, if I may? So how do you change? It's simply practicing the tools. So I teach the men how to set the intention that really is the right one for them in the moment, and then how to bring their body into a state of relaxation. Tantric sex is very parasympathetic nervous system. So rest, relax, digest. Conventional sex is very much sympathetic. It's under tension. Tantric sex is under relaxation, which men have a hard time sometimes to understand. I mention men because I work a lot with men. It's my area of focus, but I work also a lot with women. But men feel like if they're not having some kind of tension, their erection may die, or they have they need to pace up in order to keep it up. Tantric sex will require you to go. We invite you, we never require, but we invite you to go into a state of relaxation. The breath is calm, and it's from that place that you start being sexual. And this is how it changes your entire life, because you learn how to be more relaxed, more in your body, and therefore being able to observe and see yourself, just like meditation, traditional meditation works, except here you're using sex instead of looking at a candle or just focusing on your breath. You focus on the sensation in your body of pleasure.
That's a great explanation. And I want to just add here too that tantric sex can be a very spiritual connection with yourself and with your partner too. So that is another way that you can expand into Tantra as well. And I have always wanted to sort of learn how to, do Tantra. It's not something that I've really experimented with much because I feel like you really need the right partner that's interested in that too. There's got to be like a mutual interest to really expand on that. But I think it's such a beautiful practice. So if you're listening out there, what's that?
You can do it alone on your own.
That's true.
So
That's
it's interesting because tantric sex can be, as you said, there's two people come to tantric sex with two different reasons. One is they want tantric sex because they want better sex, or tantric sex for sacred sex. So when the spiritual awakening becomes sacred sex. And the difference is your intention, right? So and the tools will be different. So sex magic, for instance, is it's, you can Google it. This is a thing. It's using the sexual buildup leading to your orgasm as a way to manifest what you desire. That's a sacred sex realm, but you can do it on your own and that's the thing I would recommend anybody who's interested as a couple is it's really hard to learn tantric sex as a couple because, and that's actually the difference. That's a beautiful difference is in tantric sex, you're focused on your pleasure first and showing up exactly fully embodied and ready for the partner. In conventional sex, there's a huge amount of pressure on men because they focus on their women's pleasure or whatever, same sex,
Or
it
the
doesn't
other way
matter. So
around.
men, women,
Yeah.
but I work with your partner to be more neutral. So there's always this thing like, does she like it? Does he like it? Doesn't like it? Yeah, does this, right? It's, and we do it so that the other has pleasure. But in tantric sex, it's not the focus, it will be the result. If I show up fully embodied, shame-free, fucking sensitive, and I'm showing up like this, like a rock star in my own body, what a sight for your partner. Just that is a turn on. So you need to develop on your own the sensitivity in your genitals, the heart openness, the chakra alignment, the breath work, the way to move, the way to just have that deep, intimate connection with yourself first. And so as women, for years, my practice is how do I become more online in my own body? And then when I come to my partner, none of my partners actually have been trained in Tantra. And that's the beautiful thing, they don't need to be, but they will, you showing up this way will change them. This is what happened to me. The man who cracked me open wasn't a Tantra guy, not really spiritual at all, just down to earth guy. But I showed up with this. I showed up fully, and he was there. He was present. His thing was he's present in the moment. That was his gift. Most men are not. Tantra teaches you how to be present in a moment. He was. So then he was able to receive me fully. And that's what made the sex absolutely incredible, is as I was more and more myself, he was there meeting me every single bit. So it will help women become more orgasmic, learning their body, their real estate, so to speak, and it will help men to be more present and sensitive and less brain sex, less hooked up on tension and external motivation. You become turned on by your own cock. You look at your cock and you're like, oh my God, I want to ravage myself. Like, I'm sure I'm going to look at myself. Like, when I look at pussy, I'm like, I speak with her all the time. And
yes,
I could feel her. Right? You're asking
There's
her
wisdom
something.
there. There's wisdom there, for sure.
Exactly. You'll feel she's alive or she's not, And the work for women is to keep pussy alive all the time. Keep yourself on a low turn on. And I'm not talking about continuously stroking yourself. I'm saying, like, how do I keep pussy alive? Because pussy can help you choose food at a restaurant on a menu. She can help you inform your wardrobe in the morning. She has an opinion on everything. Right?
I love that. And great point too about masturbation and how you can really explore on your own, and you don't necessarily need a partner to practice Tantra. You can do that on your own, which leads us to our role play. I want to jump into the role play now.
Yes.
So we are going to be talking about the fact that we are both in the sexual health space and how that affects us in our day-to-day interactions with people on the internet and just in general, people reaching out to us. So with that being said, I want to just ask you, do you have any questions before we get started? Okay, so no questions. So we are going to start our role play and action.
If you've ever wished sex could feel more connected, more intense, or honestly just more fun, you need to check out Shameless Care. They're a telemedicine company built entirely around sexual health, real doctors, real prescriptions, and products that actually work. Like Shameless Chemistry, their oxytocin plus tadalafil blend that deepens connection and boosts arousal. Or Shamelessly Aroused, a topical cream with the active ingredient found in men's ED medication, increasing blood flow exactly where it counts. Every order includes a short video introduction from your doctor, transparent pricing, and no subscriptions ever. Just real, sex-positive healthcare that delivers results. Because you're a Please Me listener, you can use coupon code PLEASEME for $15 off your order of any product on the Shameless Care website. Use the code PLEASEME, that's PLEASEME, at checkout to claim your $15 off. Again, that's shamelesscare.com, code PLEASEME. Because great sex shouldn't be complicated. It should be shameless. This episode is sponsored by Shameless Care.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less with Ebglyss, a once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema. After an initial 4-month or longer dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lily.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Emma, so nice to see you. It's been a while.
Thank you. Hi, Eve.
Hi. I wanted to talk to you about something. Come, let's go get a drink and let's sit down and let's chat. I wanted to talk to you about something because I wanted to ask you how you deal with people either sliding into your DMs or sending you emails or being inappropriate in online spaces or otherwise because you are in the space of sexuality, sexual health, Tantra, etc. How do you handle unwanted attention in that realm?
It's a tough one. I resist with all my body the urge to block because it would be very easy. I just breathe and I tell myself they don't know any better. This is a teachable moment,
Yes.
a coachable moment. And I simply bring back to themselves, I express how it makes me feel. It's like, wow, it didn't feel good to receive this. Or did you really mean this? So I share how I feel. I feel like this embarrassed me, or this didn't feel good, or I felt pressured when I received this. Because most of the time people will not understand the effect or even think about it. So I start with how this make me feel. And then I tell my truth. So let's say I'm receiving a, hey, let's get together. I want to date you. Or I receive a dick pic and, hey, you're so great. Let's get together. Some kind of someone who bridge my boundary. I'll just say, wow, this didn't make me feel good to receive this. Or I was kind of shocked to receive this picture. It just doesn't, it makes me feel a bit creepy. I find it was a little bit creepy. And then I just say, me being comfortable with my sexuality and being playful and sexy and embodying fully my goddess energy is not an invitation for you to bridge my space, to break into my space and insert you into my life this way. It's okay to tell me, wow, you look so comfortable, you look so pretty, even whistle if it's in the street. Like you can comment on the effect that the beauty or the words or the wisdom has. That I received this. Aggressing me with your dick pics, etc. This is not okay. Please don't do it again.
And
so how I feel, there's and invariably, 100% of the time, I get an apology. So I'm so sorry I didn't think about this, but you're right. And I get it 100% apology, but it usually takes a time. I can see that this led to some thinking. And then I get an answer. And men think a lot before responding. And then I get the right answer. And then if I get another one of those a few months later by the same person, I say, we talked about this before. It's not acceptable for me. So I will block you now.
I love that. And, blocking is something that we can all do when we feel uncomfortable, right? But why not use that as an opportunity to teach somebody what boundaries are supposed to be like with an embodied woman, and with
Mhm.
any woman, and so I think that that is such a great tip. I find that blocking someone is very rude. It's not something that I would
Mhm.
naturally do outright, unless I'm really trying to get away from a a creepy situation, right? But in general, I agree too that it's not something that I do off the top, right away. I definitely try to use that as a teachable moment too. And so I love how you explain how you do that and the steps that you take, because boundaries are so essential. Boundaries are something that we need to, every single person has their comfort level and their boundaries. For me, walking down the street and getting whistles when I was in my early 20s and was still dealing with my, healing from sexual assault was almost like, I wanted to like run and hide in a closet because I didn't want that
Yes.
unwanted
Yeah.
attention. But now that I am in a different place in my life, I don't feel that way if I get that attention walking down the street and someone says, "Oh, you look beautiful," or something like that. I can accept that. But everybody is in a different place. And so when you are able to express what your boundaries are and help to teach somebody to be more sensitive, I think that that is such a beautiful, beautiful moment that we can have as educators and as women in general.
Yes. Mhm.
So with that being
It's really
said,
interesting.
yes, with that being said, I am going to end scene of our role play. End scene. Yay. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I think it was an important one for, anybody out there that's listening. And I'm sure that, sometimes women cross the line too. And, and are, I was actually at the mall yesterday with my daughters and there was a girl who like shouted out across the hallway, to some boys that she saw across the hallway and said, "Hey, you're low key cute. Come over here," and she was trying to get attention from these boys, right? And I was like, wow, that's very bold, to shout across the mall to the other side to get attention from somebody. It's very bold, but at the same time, it's like, when is it appropriate to make those, initiations, and maybe across the mall is not appropriate, maybe that's too much for somebody, but being able to express that and learn people's boundaries, I think, is essential.
Mhm. Wow, she's bold.
I know. I was like, wow, these teenagers nowadays. I'm like, that was not something that I would. And in our generation, maybe it was more that we waited for the man to ask, for the man to choose, for the man to come, and that's not necessarily the case anymore. Women have the power to express themselves and to reach out to men that they're interested in too. And I think that that is actually a really beautiful thing. But
Yeah,
knowing
I
the right
agree.
things to say, and how to go about that in an appropriate way that's not off putting, I think is what this specific role play was all about.
May I add one final thing here, which is
Absolutely.
since we're discussing before about conditioning and rules and things like that, it's really hard to know what's appropriate.
Hmm.
In that particular example, I mean, there's some things that, I mean, your dick pic is never appropriate, okay?
I
No,
agree.
would you ever show you this is never appropriate? But all the other thing is really a one-on-one basis. And for a girl to be comfortable to shout out, I think it's beautiful because she's totally she's free from those um,
The
conditioning.
societal
And
norms.
she,
Yeah.
yes, and she does what's comfortable for her, and that I applaud. And if the boys were uncomfortable, then I'll say, hey, just don't do that. Okay, this is embarrassing. And that's okay. So I think it's good that people just are on true to themselves and also open to being pushed back a little bit because the boundary was violated. But I like that, especially in this day and age now when we have so many changes in our society and conversations, around gender and around everything, right? We're debunking religion, we're debunking cultures, we're a true melting pot. I'm French and, and an American. I have both, but I can see that what's okay in my French conditioning isn't in the US and vice versa. And if I was born somewhere else, it would be something else. So I think we cannot expect people to know. There's the general thing, and then after that is just being open and being quick to apologize is very important, and taking responsibility.
Yes, absolutely. Taking responsibility. I agree. So, with all of that being said, I want to make sure that my listeners can find you. Where can we find you, Emma?
Well, two ways. I have a very active Instagram account, not so much
Okay.
Facebook, but Instagram. So
Okay.
my IG is Tantric Awakenings, one word. And then my website, where I have a blog that's really also very active, some free masturbation audios for you to try. It's tantric-awakenings.com.
Okay, so I will make sure that we include all of that in the show notes. So make sure that if you're interested in working with Emma, you reach out to her. You can look. I'll include both of those links there. And with that being said, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been such an amazing conversation. I feel like I met my soul sister.
I met my soul sister too. We need to continue talking offline.
Absolutely. I've made such amazing friends on this show because, obviously there's just a lot of commonality. And so I absolutely loved talking to you today, my new French sister. And with that being said, I just want to thank you for being here. And until next time.
Yeah, let's get you on the tantric sex wagon, sister.
Ooh, yes. Ooh. Yeah. I'm all for it. 2026 is going to be my year.
If you're feeling disconnected from your body, struggling with intimacy, or facing a sexual health condition, you're not alone. There is no shame in what you're experiencing, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to reclaim your confidence, pleasure, and connection. That's why I offer a free 15-minute discovery call to explore what's going on and whether working together is the right next step. Spots fill quickly, so don't wait. The link is in the show notes. Grab your time now.
Are you looking for a sexy date? Look no further than SDC.com. SDC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous website that is worldwide. It also hosts a wealth of information on sexuality and sexual health, and I host a free live webinar monthly on the site. You can use code 37340 for a free trial membership on me, and be sure to reach out on the site and say hello.
I want to personally invite you to join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, bonus episodes, and early releases. Already there is a lot of bonus content on there with many webinars that I've done in the past and a show that I've never released to the public before. My show is completely self-funded, and when you are able to support me in this way, I'm able to spread my message of body positivity, self-love, and women's empowerment, and empowerment in general around sexuality around the globe. And so with that being said, I appreciate everyone who has already joined Patreon. And if you've thought about joining, now's your nudge to do so. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.